Hello fellow fume heads, it's Scent Gourmand Trina here with a video briefly reviewing a few fragrances containing the note of cherry. I don't mean cherry the blossom, I mean cherry the fruit, one of my favorite fruits actually. I do think there are some people who are always going to find cherry in perfumery to be reminiscent of cough syrup. If you're one of those people, this video is unlikely for you. For cherry smell lovers, however, listen on. Let's dive right into all that jammy juiciness. Some amazing, some maybe not so. Let's start with the overpriced and obvious cherry, at least since it was first released in 2018, and that would be Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. Mr. Ford has a dirty mind, and he's not afraid to sell his perfumery through highly provocative advertising. If you don't know what I mean, Google it. And that extends to the naming of his more recent additions to his line, like a rose prick, for example. Sadly, Lost Cherry is forbidden fruit to me at the moment, as I have spent my budget on other delicious delights of late. So I currently only have this little sample here to share with you. Samples offer great first impressions, but they do little to tell you of the perfume's performance. And when they are this tiny, you don't get enough to feel out the fragrance's development either. I wish that samples from Lucky Scent were at least 2 milliliters. This is only 1. And I hate that you can't spray them onto a test strip or a piece of flesh as well. Anyway, the note of cherry in this perfume, yeah, it's front and center, and to me, it's a really good cherry. Sadly, I don't think it's that natural, but that doesn't mean it's not good. If in defense of all cherry perfumes, my feeling is that cherry is likely a very hard note to get right in both flavorings and fragrances. It's often too sweet, too medicinal, and or too fake. Lost Cherry doesn't quite escape any of these three excesses, but that doesn't mean it's crap. On the contrary, this cherry to me is amazing. It's not the dark, fresh, and fleshy variety, but rather the light red candy type that you find canned with syrup and used to place atop cupcakes and such. The cherry in here is the cherry that tastes, or smells rather, a lot better than it tastes. And this perfume, too, smells better than those other cherries. There are other notes in here, too, of course, and the whole package consists of lots and lots of sour cherry, bitter almond liqueur, plum, Turkish rose, jasmine, sambac, tonka bean, vanilla, Peru, balsam, benzoin, cinnamon, sandalwood, cedar, cloves, vetiver, and patchouli. All that sounds complex, but I have to say the cherry steps all over the other notes here. I mean, all I get is cherry. It's pushing everything to like minor supporting roles at the back of the stage and even pushing them off stage. This is truly delicious if you're a cherry fan. And if you like cherry and perfume, I think you're going to want this, but I don't think many of you will be happy about the price. The perfumer, by the way, is Louise Turner, and because I only have a wee vial of this stuff, I can't speak to its performance, but as a Tom Ford fragrance, I very much doubt it's terrible. An amazing fragrance also recently released in the same year as Lost Cherry is from a newer fragrance house called BDK Parfums. Rouge Smoking by Emily Bourgeois is also expensive. But after sampling it, I had to sniff more, so I got this 10 ml size. I love this perfume. I'm gonna spray it on now. Oh, love it. And I must say that I'm really impressed with this whole brand, and I hope to share some others from this house with you at a later time. Now, technically, this is an amber fragrance. The notes are cherry, pink pepper, bergamot, black vanilla husk, heliotrope, orange blossom, tonka bean, cashmere wood, white musk, ambroxan, labdanum, and violet. Yeah, gosh, you know, no wonder I like it. Now, unlike any other fragrances on my list today, although the cherry in this fragrance is indeed still front and center, there's a lot more to it. It's so well blended that the whole fragrance is like a perfect accord. To me, it's challenging to pick out the components, but they're there. The cherry melts into a peppered rose quickly at the start, and keeping it sweet is the undercurrent of mostly vanilla and some tonka bean. It's not listed, but I do get a feel of tobacco in here, and maybe that's why it's called smoking. God, it's so good. It's so enchanting. This was love at first sniff for me, and I do want a full bottle. Of all the cherry fragrances I've tried, this is the most unique, bar perhaps one which I'll get to a bit later. And the cherry in this fragrance is not cherry lollies. It's not medicinal. It's not canned and syrupy. It's much more sophisticated and sensual and sultry. I think the rose does all of this to this perfume. But strangely, I get sarsaparilla in this too. It's a good job I like root beer. Or maybe it's cream soda. There's some sort of effervescence in it. Now, BDK's narrative for this scent is a woman putting on her makeup to get ready for a performance she'll be in. And of course, there's a well-dressed man in the picture. But to be honest, that story is a bit too cliche for me. Yes, it's sultry and sophisticated, but it's also got a slight edge, if you will. Although I do think it's versatile. To me, this is a nighttime perfect, more in the spring or fall type of scent, depending on where you live. I imagine like a speakeasy type of bar with fine liquor, jazz, hidden glances, longing, imagined lust, but no loose tongues, cheap clothing, or overt passes. On me, this does not project massively and lasts for about 6 hours. It leans sweet, but we all love candy. Men can pull this off too. You'll get compliments. Next we have Una Tira L'Altra by Hilde Soliani. This is an amber fruity fragrance released in 2014, and it's a solid contender in the cherry fruit category. But you have to be someone who also likes the smell of cherry lozenges to enjoy this. The cherry in here is dense and sweet and tart, maybe the maraschino variety. There is a slight medicinal quality to it. It's a bit cough syrupy, but you know, I like this. Some people aren't gonna like it, even if they love cherries, but to me, there actually are some facets of it that are natural, and I don't exactly dislike cherry cough syrup, as I said. There's a slight fermented boozy vibe to it too, maybe like wine. And there's definitely some marzipan in it, I guess some almonds that waft out. Yeah. I'm not complaining about this at all, but I couldn't readily find the note breakdown on this one. I'm guessing it's not likely that complex. It's syrupy synthetic cherries with almond paste, probably something like tonka beans or woods to ground it. But really, at the end of the day, it's a soliflor, or soliflore. Oh no, a solifruit, I should say. Of course, I can't say anything about the performance with this one either, but others, because I only have this guy here, but others have written that the cherry note lasts longer than that of Mr. Ford, so that's good to hear. Hilde Soliani's packaging is something I find generally underwhelming, considering her pricing. She is a smaller company and harder to find, so if you're looking for an easy-to-find mainstream, maybe lower in price cherry fragrance, you might want to give a try out to Petite Robe Noire, which is my next cherry frag. When I first sniffed La Petite Robe Noire when it was first released in 2012, I admit cherry wasn't the first note that came to mind for me. Once I read the list of notes though, I did quickly sniff it out. The fragrance was created by Thierry Wasser and includes the notes of sour cherry, almond, red berries, bergamot, licorice, rose, tea, Thai rose, vanilla, tonka bean, anise, patchouli, and iris. An impressive list. The idea behind the fragrance is that if you don't know what to wear, you can put on your little black dress and you'll be fine. Well, that's practical, I guess, but that means the fragrance is going to be something that fits all situations, and I guess that's practical. And to me, yeah, it is fitting. I have to be honest. I own several skirts but I don't own, nor have I ever owned, a dress of any sort. They just don't work for me, my body proportions or something. And, neither does this perfume. I don't hate or even dislike it. It's simply uninspiring to me. And I do find that surprising because the notes, especially the cherry, almond, and the licorice, are indeed appealing. I think quite simply it's a little too sweet, too powdery, too juvenile. I'm not impressed with its performance, and the cherry and licorice I so wanted to love don't really sing in it. It's not quite a gourmand and not quite a floral either. It's confused. It's tasty enough though. It's juicy and crisp as well as sweet, and I'm sure it's popular with a younger, cute, carefree, and flirty crowd, especially considering the marketing. The animated advertising campaign with a skinny black silhouette of a fun-loving young lady prancing about town, in Paris specifically, wearing a petite robe noire is not exactly feminist in the way I tend to define it, but it's impressive from the marketing standpoint. So it's not surprising that the fragrance was a hit and that now there are multiple flankers. I don't think it's as popular now, mind, but yeah, it's still one of their performers. Sadly, rather than a chic young lady woman out on the town in a little black dress and maybe a little Chanel purse, I get more of a teenager wearing cropped denim shorts on a skateboard carrying a canvas backpack filled with cherry lollipops and Twizzlers. Not that this is a bad thing, it's just not for me. Mind, neither is the LBD with the Chanel purse, I guess. People have compared this little fragrance to Lolita Lempicka. The only commonality to me is the licorice, which Lolita has a lot more of, and Lolita's better. Lord knows I am not a fan of flankerization, especially when it results in a completely different fragrance, which is what I think this is. La Petite Robe Noire Black Perfecto, which came out in 2017. What a name, but I do love the black bottle on this one. Kind of kinky. And oh, which came first, I wonder? It's a drier cherry with leather and bitter almond in here. Now, interestingly, others have said this fragrance performs well, but on me, once again, I must admit it's rather subpar. It only lasts a few hours on me. I do enjoy the smell of the juice inside, however. It's a lot more mature, it's not as sweet, it's less mainstream. It does leave a sticky residue on the skin, I've noticed. I have worn through quite a bit of this. This fragrance lives up to its theme of being a darker, edgier version of the original. LBD meets leather biker jacket, all black. I like. The perfumer is the same, and there are similarities in the notes, only simpler. It contains sour cherry, almond, black tea, licorice, rose, leather, tonka bean, patchouli, and black musk. The cherry is less prominent here, and the addition of leather is welcome, as is the perceptible bitter almond. The beauty in this fragrance lies in the lovely dry down. It's leather soaked with musky black tea, liquored cherries, and sweetened licorice root. Too bad it lives so close to the skin. And now I do actually turn to Lolita Lempicka, but not to the original. Instead, I have here not a licorice, but a cherry fragrance from the brand, created by Anne Filippo in 2014. Interestingly, although this is insanely sweet, I'm talking pure sugar here, I actually enjoy this more than La Petite Robe Noire, and I think it's probably because there are no flowers in it. However, this is a scent I would never wear out in public. I just wear it at home for my own sniffing pleasure. It's far too sweet, like that cotton candy scent. What is it? Pink Sugar by Aquilina. It's that kind of sweet. So saccharine. The notes are cherry lip gloss, sugar is right up there, angelica, cocoa, iris, musk, and cashmere wood. In a nutshell, it's the hard candy version of cherries dipped in cocoa powder with extra sugar. Your cheeks will clench from all the surreal candied gummy bear sweetness. It's synthetic, girly, sticky sweet, but all in a good way with that makeup vibe from the iris. Great if you're on a diet and the smell alone can satisfy you. But I don't know, this just makes my mouth water. It's sweet. It is sweet. There are two flankers of this one, if you can believe it. So Sweet, which apparently is less sweet, not the name, just the feeling, and Sweet Kiss. And I very much enjoyed the rich gem-like bottle, which sparkles on my bookcase. Room 1015 is a newer music-inspired house that I'm excited about, and I do have samples of all their fragrances to date, which I hope to share with you in a later video. I love cherry, so it's not surprising that Cherry Punk is my favorite in the line so far. I'm also a lady of the 80s, so the pictures, I should say, used in the marketing do resonate, for better or for worse. To me, the cherry in this fragrance is darker and drier, and the whole fragrance is a more leathery, more provocative version of Lost Cherry. Perhaps pour a little Tuscan leather into your Lost Cherry and see what happens. It might be the same. Although I can't speak to its performance, again, I only have a sample. What I get out of this is excellent. Raw, rough, sexy, and smoldering AF, unisex, and rather unique. The perfumer is Jérôme Epinette, and the notes are cherry, saffron, Szechuan pepper, violet, jasmine absolute, mimosa, patchouli, tonka bean, and lots of raunchy black leather. I do love the earthy light patchouli at the base of this, as well as the tinge of saffron. Let's have a sniff. Oh, so good. You need to put on a studded leather jacket and some attitude when you put this fragrance on if you want the full effect. Sadly, I don't own a leather jacket, but I fully support leather and fragrance. If you're not a fan of leather, however, especially a damp leather like this, I would stick to your Tom Ford apple pie. Dry cherry and damp leather. Interesting. Up next is an affordable light floral cherry fruit scent by Escada. I've owned a couple of Escada scents in the past, which I've enjoyed, but was not blown away by. Likewise, this fragrance, Cherry in the Air, is not earth-shattering, but it's pleasant enough, and as you can see, I do wear it. I think I'll finish this off after the video, in fact. It's very light. Since 1993, Escada has launched a summer fragrance every year, and this was one of them. And yes, it's warm weather appropriate. It's light and slightly sweet and fresh, not sticky and dense. It's a safe summer choice. Of course, due to its light nature, it doesn't exactly have stellar performance. This fragrance was launched in 2013 and contains the notes of sour cherry, raspberry, mandarin orange, and dime, marshmallow vanilla, not marshmallow flavored vanilla, but marshmallow and vanilla, orchid, gardenia, sandalwood, musk, white suede, and oak. I got it on the cheap because it didn't come with a cap. Not a big deal to me, really, because I care more about what's inside than the bottle itself. Sadly, I think this might be discontinued, but look to your online discount stores. They might have this. And speaking of discontinued, I am ending my list with a no longer available scent from Cartier. This is Delices, a fruity floral launched in 2008 with notes of cherry, pink pepper, bergamot, violet, jasmine, freesia, tonka bean, amber, sandalwood, and musk. Now, I got this as a blind buy, secondhand, and to be honest, yeah, I know for sure. It's gone off. And if it hasn't in fact gone off, then it sucks because I get mostly like a mustiness to it. But even if I get past that, I smell synthetic, medicinal, amber, and cherry meshed with violet scented cleaning product. I guess it's a good job you can't get it anymore. Too bad, as the notes sounded promising and not dissimilar to others on my list, really. Yeah, I think this has gone off. Okay, that is all I have for you today, my lovelies. Of course, I don't claim any of these as the best cherry fragrances currently out there, but I think you might be able to guess my top picks. In order, these are Rouge Smoking, which is less cherry heavy, more blended. Cherry punk, because it's so edgy and unique. And yeah, Lost Cherry, overpriced, but it's such a forward cherry. But cherry punk would probably be my first full bottle if I were going to buy a full bottle at this point, because it's I think it's good value, and it's a smaller indie brand. I want to support companies like that. Of course, there are many other cherry fruit fragrances I'd love to sniff out. Some that sound scrumptious to me include Montal's Intense Cherry. If it's Montal, the performance is probably going to be amazing. Dark Cherry and Amber by Banana Republic, very decent price point. And Come il Sole by Bois 1920. I've heard it's like Goutal's old Myrrh Ardente, but with cherry. That's what I read anyway. What about you guys? Do you agree with my top picks? And what are your favorite cherry fragrances? Let me know below. See you in the next video. Mwah.